This black boy's name is Bobby. What's incredible is that he speaks fluent Chinese and insists he is Chinese.
是中国人，因为我有中国户口、中国身份证，还有中国的爷爷奶奶。
The story begins in 2010 when a wealthy African businessman abandoned his 4-year-old son in China. But Bobby was lucky because he met a kind Chinese grandmother who not only raised him, but also helped him obtain Chinese citizenship in 2018. So why was Bobby abandoned by his father 15 years ago? And what kind of life is he living now? Let us explore this moving story that crosses racial and national boundaries. In 2004, an African businessman named Ali came to Yiwu City in Zhejiang Province, China, to work in the pharmaceutical raw materials trade. With his excellent business acumen, Ali's business became very successful, and he accumulated substantial wealth. He lived a luxurious lifestyle, driving expensive cars, living in a mansion, and traveling with a driver and bodyguards every day. Soon after, Ali met a Chinese woman and they quickly fell in love and got married. In 2006, their son Bobby was born. However, the good times did not last. The couple's relationship began to crack. Ali and his wife came from completely different cultural backgrounds, and their lifestyle differences and cultural clashes led to frequent arguments. Their love gradually wore away with each conflict. Before long, they divorced. Bobby, who was not yet 1-year-old at the time, went to live with his father from then on. But Ali was busy with work all day and had no time to spend with his son. The only thing he could do was hire several nannies to take care of Bobby's daily needs. Although Ali provided his son with excellent material conditions and a comfortable life, there was almost no emotional connection between father and son. On the rare occasions when Ali came home, Bobby was unwilling to communicate with him at all. Instead, Bobby became very attached to Sheng Xiaoyang, the driver who had been taking care of him and driving him around, treating him as his closest person. In 2010, Ali suddenly approached Sheng Xiaoyang and told him that he needed to transport a batch of very important pharmaceuticals back to Africa. He hoped that Sheng Xiaoyang could help take care of Bobby while he was away. As a boss, Ali was usually very kind to people. In his spare time, he would gather with his employees, laughing and chatting, and often treated them to nice meals. So when faced with Ali's request, Sheng Xiaoyang agreed without hesitation and promised he would take good care of Bobby, telling Ali not to worry. However, no one expected that once Ali left, he would never return. Although Ali rarely came home, he would call every few days to ask about his son. But now a month had passed, and Ali had not made a single phone call. Sheng Xiaoyang tried every way to contact Ali, but Ali would not answer his phone, would not reply to messages, and even his emails remained unread. No one knew where he had gone. 3 months later, Ali still had no news, as if this person had never existed in China. 4-year-old Bobby was completely abandoned by his father in China. During those 3 months, Sheng Xiaoyang had been keeping Bobby with him. Having inexplicably lost his job, he now had to support an additional child. But Sheng Xiaoyang was just an ordinary worker who did not earn much money. Worse still, Ali owed him several months of unpaid wages. Sheng Xiaoyang's own son was only 2 years old, and the family expenses were already substantial. Bobby's presence undoubtedly made the burden on Sheng Xiaoyang's shoulders even heavier. However, this was a child he had watched grow up, and Sheng Xiaoyang could not bear to just abandon Bobby. His wife suggested sending Bobby to an orphanage, but the orphanage said that Bobby was neither an orphan nor technically an abandoned child, and according to regulations, they could not accept him. With no other choice, the couple had to bring Bobby back home. However, differences in lifestyle and the language barrier meant that when the wife tried to communicate with Bobby, they were always talking past each other. Neither could understand what the other was saying. Gradually, the wife had multiple arguments with Sheng Xiaoyang over Bobby. Left with no choice, Sheng Xiaoyang could only take Bobby back to his rural hometown, hoping his parents could help take care of him. At first, when Sheng Xiaoyang's mother, Mei, saw her son return with a black child, she was startled. However, after hearing Bobby's story, Mei felt deeply sorry for what this child had been through, and at the same time felt very angry at Ali's irresponsibility. Watching Bobby's well-behaved manner, standing timidly behind her son, yet still politely calling her grandmother, Mei's heart melted instantly, so she agreed to let Bobby stay. In this remote and isolated little village, the sudden arrival of a black child spread throughout the entire village in less than half a day, sparking curiosity and gossip among the villagers. People gathered around the Sheng family's door, pointing and whispering. Some said Sheng Xiaoyang had dumped a big problem on his mother. Others said this child must be Sheng Xiaoyang's illegitimate son from an affair, and fearing his wife would find out, he sent the boy to his hometown for his parents to raise. Otherwise, why would anyone be willing to raise someone else's child when they could barely support their own family? Seeing the rumors becoming more and more outrageous, May could only tell everyone Bobby's true story. But the gossip did not disappear. Many people still believed this was a story May had made up to protect her son's reputation. Fortunately, May did not take these rumors to heart, and Bobby, being so young, did not understand these complicated social dynamics. However, Bobby, who was accustomed to a luxurious lifestyle, suddenly found himself in this remote little village, and he was very uncomfortable. He could not speak Chinese, and he could not eat the steamed buns and porridge that grandmother made for him. Before, he mostly ate Western fast food like burgers and fries. He was not used to traditional Chinese food and could not eat it. Even though May brought out all the good food in the house, Bobby still did not like it, and he even developed vomiting and diarrhea. With no other choice, May had to carry Bobby on her back to the hospital in the middle of the night. Through their day-to-day time together, she had already come to see Bobby as her own grandson. Although May, who had lived in the countryside all her life, did not understand what the burger Bobby talked about was, she still made him a Chinese-style burger based on his description. She put meat slices and lettuce inside a flatbread and spread a little ketchup on it. Although May felt this was not much different from the food she usually made, Bobby ate it very happily. Perhaps sensing the care and love his grandmother had for him, Bobby began to learn Chinese little by little. From only being able to gesture with his hands at first, gradually he could communicate with others in simple Chinese. When grandmother went to work in the fields, he would follow behind her to help. When May cooked, Bobby would take a broom and sweep the yard. Gradually, Bobby became grandmother's little sidekick. Wherever May went, people could see the black child following closely by her side. As Bobby spent more and more time in the village, the gossip from before gradually died down. Bobby also made many good friends. When they had free time, a group of children would play around the village together.
要比美丽，好，来坐下。哦，芭比很可爱。芭比很聪明，芭比很善良。哦，芭比很善良嘛。
But gradually, Bobby became all alone again. It was not that the children no longer wanted to play with him, but rather that they had all reached school age and were sent to school by their parents. Bobby, however, still could not enroll. This was because he did not have Chinese citizenship and had no legal status. In order to let Bobby go to school like other children, May visited almost every school in the area. But every single school refused to accept him because he did not have citizenship. When Sheng Xiaoyang learned of this, he returned home with his wife. The two planned to go to the police station to complete formal adoption procedures. This way, Bobby's citizenship issue could be resolved and he could go to school. But Sheng Xiaoyang did not have sufficient evidence to prove that Bobby was an abandoned child. In addition, Bobby's biological mother left when he was very young, and he had no memory of her at all. Whether his mother was even Chinese remained unknown. If Sheng Xiaoyang wanted to adopt Bobby, he would have to find Ali first. Only after Ali explicitly stated he was willing to give up custody of Bobby could they proceed with the adoption process. Bobby's schooling was delayed because of this. Fortunately, when the local education bureau learned of Bobby's story, they were willing to make an exception and let him enroll. However, because Bobby did not have citizenship, he could not receive free public education. To enroll, he had to pay about $250 in tuition and book fees. Getting her grandson into school was already very difficult, so May was certainly not going to give up this opportunity. However, $250 was not a small amount for their struggling family. Considering that her son was working hard alone in the city, May did not tell Sheng Xiaoyang about this. To raise the money as quickly as possible to send Bobby to school, she went to work at a textile factory in the neighboring village every day. Watching grandmother come home late every night, so exhausted she had no energy even to eat and would just collapse into bed, Bobby felt deeply sorry for her. From then on, he went with grandmother to the textile factory every day. While grandmother worked the sewing machine making clothes, he would help by trimming thread ends, doing whatever he could to lighten the burden on grandmother. After entering school, Bobby quickly bonded with his classmates. Perhaps due to natural advantages, Bobby excelled in all kinds of sports. Because the school was too far from home, Bobby could only take the bus home on weekends. Before he even reached the door, he would call out loudly for grandmother. At that moment, grandmother would be at home making dumplings for Bobby.
这个更不像。我看是一点都不像。像的，像的。
In the evening, Bobby would take out his homework and happily show it to grandmother, telling her he got a perfect score. The 6 years of elementary school passed in the blink of an eye.
这100，这个又100。这里搓血了，就是。对呀，有一些人用的100，我总的个不是100，你看100。
May began to worry again. The middle school entrance exam was coming up soon, but Bobby's citizenship issue still had not been resolved. Without citizenship, Bobby could not take the exam, and no matter how good his grades were, it would be useless. Fortunately, in 2018, the government introduced a new policy, and Bobby was finally able to obtain Chinese citizenship. May was so excited she could not sleep all night. She spent the entire night looking through a dictionary and finally chose the name Sheng Tianyi for Bobby.
来，芭比，你的那个户口本帮你办好了，现在啊，然后看一下呢，你的那个中文名叫盛天一，然后这边是你的家人啊，这个是你爷爷盛木根，这是你奶奶盛美娟。
那你现在终于有了户口啦，什么感觉？
很开心，
为什么开心啊？
因为我有家了。
Although Bobby and grandmother came from different countries and races, through years of being together, they had long become an inseparable family. After Bobby and grandmother's story was reported by the media, this relationship between grandparent and grandchild that crossed nationality and bloodlines moved countless people. Today, Bobby has received his college acceptance letter. In an interview with the media, he said his greatest wish is to learn valuable skills in school and then repay grandmother for raising him as soon as possible, and also repay society for all the help it has given him. True love can break through the barriers of race and blood. Although Bobby encountered an irresponsible father, fortunately, he met Sheng Xiaoyang and grandmother May. May every child in the world be treated with kindness and gentleness.